Chris Agiri. Glad to have you join us. Welcome to the platform on Flow FM. Good morning to you.
Thank you very much, Flow FM. Thank
Yes.
you. Yes.
You're welcome. My name is Michael. Now let's look at the election. What have you noticed looking at the intrigues playing out, especially the insecurity in the state? Do you think it's okay for INEC to proceed? Although INEC has said, well, we're proceeding despite all these intrigues and, of course, the insecurity. Do you think it is proper for INEC to proceed?
Yes, the election, the Anambra election, that INEC should proceed, that's my opinion. It is constitutional, it's a constitutional matter. The question is, if the election does not hold, what follows? What becomes Anambarians? And let the record be straight. 4 years ago, I was in Anambra. The same kind of scenario was playing out. There was also saying there will be no election, there will be no election. Yes, eventually, Anambra election held last 4 years ago. And as far as I'm concerned, it was one of the freest elections. It was the election that was held, and the losers, nobody went to court. The records are there. Nobody went to court 4 years ago. After the election, it went on free and fair, and the winner emerged. And yes, in as much as we had, there was some kind of low turnout, but the election held, and there was peace everywhere. So I don't have any doubt, in as much as the scenarios are a bit different, but it is in the best interest of Anambarians.
Yes, you say it is the best interest of Anambras, but let's look at some of the. You're referring to the previous election you monitored in Anambra. That election came out with 23% of voter turnout. Now,
Yes.
what is your prediction this year? If you look at some of the factors surrounding this election.
Generally in Nigeria, you look at a population, so to speak, of 200 million plus. In general elections, you have a turnout of about 20 million. What percentage does that tell? Yes, last 4 years, about 23%. I expect also about that, this year's election. As I was saying, I impress it on Anambarians. The Igbo society is an organized society, from the family to the village to the community to the ward to town unions and associations. Anambarians at home and in diaspora should be able to resolve within themselves and to the people to come out and vote in a governor of their choice. Yes, it behoves on Anambarians. And of course, on the side of the government that have assured them of provision of security.
Okay.
This is the police IG said about 5,000 policemen are going to be deployed. Yes, plus other services. I do not have any doubt that the Anambra election will hold, and it will hold peacefully. You started by using the word intrigues. There's a lot of political intrigues that is playing out. Some are politically motivated and orchestrated. Others are a combination of different factors.
Okay.
And yes, the election.
Now, the safety of those that will participate, from the voters down to the ad hoc staff, down to even journalists and the members of the civil society that will observe, election observers, is very paramount, very important. Do you think it is safe to proceed? For example, I'm a journalist. From what you've seen on ground and what you've monitored, do you think it is safe to proceed for observation?
Well, as it were, it is a call to duty for you, beginning from you, the journalist, for the state of the realm. You have a constitutional duty. The observers is also a creation of the law, and not interlopers. The annex staff, the security agencies. It's a call to duty. And whatever duty calls, as a citizen, you are expected to respond. To Anambarians, it's also a call to duty. a civic duty, which is also constitutional. Like the Igbo said, and I have some Bobu Agog, and like we said in our dialect in Ungwa, and I bucha ndị ọgụ anaghị alachakwa, but having said that, with God on our side, with the assurance of the government, we call on all those, who are saying elections should not hold, whatever is their growth, whatever is their problem, what is at stake here? What is at stake is the Southeast. The Southeast. It's not this election, yes. It's not a general election. This election is only in the Southeast. Who will be the victims of the failings of these things? It's the Southeasterners, and Anambarians in particular. So I say, look, whatever it is, we must resolve whatever our group is against the Nigerian state. But charity begins at home.
Now, it brings to question the issue of militarization. Of course, the number of police, I'm sure you've seen it, over 30,000 police are deployed. We did the calculation, it's about 7 police officers to a polling unit. That's on the very high side for an election. And one will be asking, don't you think that is on the high side? Don't you think that may also contribute to the fact that Anambra people may not want to come out due to the fear of the uniformed men on that day?
I don't want to be pessimistic. I've never been known for that. This is not the first time 30,000 or 35,000 policemen have been deployed for one-off elections in Nigeria. This is not the first time. It's not the first time. The records are there. And I think, it's not necessarily a thing of issue of force. It is rather part of the government strategy to reassure the people that, you'll be safe. Of course, the presence of security men gives, the large extent of assurance. And one thing about this election, it's an Anambra election, and it's holding in Anambra state. I will strongly advise to whom it may concern. It's an isolated thing. On the day of election, you don't have freedom of movement. It's only the observers, and then they have freedom of movement. And then some response team of, the security agencies. So you see, any community that where there will be a breakdown, that is an isolated community. And if I were an Anambarian, I would try to ensure that, look, my own community will not be a victim of that. Because one thing is certain, nobody have freedom of movement that day. So if you are moving outwardly, if you are not on election duty, it is, my friend. No, it behoves on every community to take every step possible to ensure that their own area does not fall victim to any form of crisis, because it's wherever you can't move from one local government to another. You can't move from one community to another. You can't even move from one village to another. You're expected to move from your house to the polling booth, which is closer to you. And so when any movement beyond these boundaries, it's more or less an interloper.
Okay. Mr. Chris, how will you rate the conduct of the politicians now, of the candidates from various political parties, especially looking at the level of violence, looking at the intrigues playing out? You did an analysis this morning, and you're saying that it might not necessarily have the factor of what we're looking at. I mean, the area of those agitating. It might also have the factor of the candidates also playing out here. So how will you rate their conduct, pre-election conduct of these candidates?
Well, under the prevailing circumstance, the candidates, they've been doing their best. the ABGA, the PDP, the APC, is it a Accord Party? Those ones have been more visible. There are other candidates, there are about 18 candidates running for this election. Others, I just believe they are doing.
They've not been really a serious campaign like we've seen in other elections. Do you think it will affect the outcome of the election? Looking at the insecurity situation, they've not really campaigned.
No, I disagree. They've under the circumstances.
Okay.
I think the parties are doing their best. I think they've been campaigning. I've seen severally the ABGA, the PDP, and the APC. Even is it a Accord Party? Under the circumstances, they are doing their best. Everything is based on no two scenarios are the same. I think they are doing the best under that circumstance. The candidates in question are not strange to Anambarians. The candidates in question are not strange to Anambarians. They're all Anambarians, and then beginning from the party primaries up to this time. So the people is expected to make a choice out of what is on ground.
Now, the preparedness of the electoral umpire is also another thing to look out for. In your opinion, in what you've seen and the observations you've made, do you think INEC is ready to conduct a free and fair election in Anambra State?
INEC, as it were, INEC, as far as my advice is that INEC have no option than to conduct a free and fair election. Under the prevailing circumstances, INEC and INEC staff, INEC as an institution, their staffs, ad hoc and permanent staff, they have no option than to ensure there's a free and fair election. The INEC chairman himself, who is lucky to have gotten a second term, he has to, the records, history, posterity will hold everybody accountable that does anything outward. INEC will have no option than to play a free and fair election. And I bet you one thing, the moment a free and fair election is conducted in Anambra, there will be peace. There will be peace. It's a natural law. That once that contest goes seemingly free and fair, it's a natural law. There will be peace. A winner will emerge. Others will not. In any contest, there must be only one winner. Then secondly, I expect the state, the Nigerian state, to take a position, and to ensure, which is run the election, let the election run its full cycle freely and fairly. 4 years ago, I am a witness, and I give credit to President Buhari. There was a clear instruction that, look, this election should be allowed to run.
All right.
Freely and fairly. And once that is done, there will be peace.
All right.
So I'm optimistic. I'm very optimistic about this election.
Great. Fantastic.
I expect people to, respond accordingly. We must not succumb to all sorts of things. Come on, it's our society, and Igbos in particular, the Southeasterners in particular. We must not allow our place to be used. We shouldn't be, look, come on, we have a duty, a moral duty, constitutional duty to protect our own.
All right, Mr. Chris Agiri, I want to really thank you for your analysis this morning on the platform, the pinnacle of all discussions. Thank you very much for sharing your thoughts with us concerning Anambra election.
Thank you.
I appreciate you.